pitchers and catchers have reported today. Very exciting that that baseball is back. Which team are you like the most torn on this season, that you're like going back and forth on? One day maybe you wake up and you really like this team, and then the next day you're like, I don't know if I can bet them.
It's interesting you ask, because I always thought, I first of all, I'm glad to fill your Ken quota for the day. You got to have a Ken on this show, so I'm happy I could do that. Yeah. But it's an interesting question, because I was figuring maybe what team are you excited about? It's a great question, and I think the team that I'm excited about that I'm also torn on is the Chicago Cubs, because I love the Cubs to win this NL Central division. I know the PECOTA projections from my friends at Baseball Prospectus, had a great time working there in the past. They came out and they love the St. Louis Cardinals, and odds makers love the St. Louis Cardinals as well. And I can't get behind it with the rotation that's going to have Steven Matz and Lance Lynn in the middle of it. And on top of the fact that, like, basically, I think a lot of the weight here is on Jordan Walker's shoulders to, elevate this offense to an elite level and a division winning level. So with that, like, I was all over the Cubs last year live, so to speak, during the home stretch there to win the division. And I still sort of like them here. The question that I have, though, like, the reason I'm torn is that a lot of the handicap here for me is that I think they're going to get a lot of help from their farm. Matt Shaw, who's been an excellent minor league player in just a very short time after they drafted him in the first round last year. I think we might be able to see him by the end of the season playing second base. I think he's an amazing hitter. Ben Brown is an incredible pitcher. He had an amazing AA, struggled when he got to AAA. Perhaps they put him in the bullpen. And Cade Horton as well has emerged as one of the top pitching prospects in baseball. There's a lot of guys that are going to come in, I think, and help the Cubs either late this year, second half, or next year. So the question for me is, like, how much of an impact do they make this year? Because as it stands right now, you've got a lot of weight on Amanga's shoulders. Kyle Hendricks did figure it out last year, but, like, he is very old. He's 34 years old, and he's not exactly a guy that had a lot of consistency because he's a ground ball pitcher. They lose Marcus Stroman. There are a lot of question marks here. And again, the magic of Mike Tauchman at the top of that lineup. Like, what's he going to look like this year? Is he going to be able to repeat that campaign? And oh, by the way, they still have not re-signed Cody Bellinger. So I really want to bet them right now. I think they're going to win the division. I think the vibes in Chicago are very good. I think they've done a great job developing this team, but there are just a lot of question marks here. So I actually think the team that I'm most excited about in a division race, I'm also sort of torn on, because, like, I could absolutely see the Cubs being a year away from really winning this division and really contending for a pennant and even a championship.
Obviously, Ohtani signs that 10-year deal. If I said over-under during that contract, the next 10 years, the Dodgers 2.5 World Series with Ohtani, would you go over or under?
I think I'd go under, honestly, just because it's such a volatile market. 10 years is a long time, but I think ultimately what you're getting and what you're paying for is like 5 elite years from Ohtani. And I think the last half of that contract, I think the reason you sign him is because of all the money he brings in, all that stuff. I think what you're going to get Ohtani for 5 years, and you're only getting him pitching for 4. But I mean, it's tough for me. It's a tough call. I mean, I do feel like the Dodgers farm, at least on the hitting side, has regressed a little bit. Like, Miguel Vargas was supposed to be God, and he turned out to be, just kind of a pedestrian hitter. So I could certainly see the Dodgers only winning twice, especially with the Diamondbacks having a lot of good youngsters coming up. And I think the Diamondbacks could challenge the Dodgers for several titles in the NL West once you got guys like Jordan Lawler at full. Tommy Troy looks really good. So it could be dicey. So I think with the Dodgers, their World Series history over the last 20 years, nothing's a guarantee, especially with a lot of the powers in the American League, the Orioles rising to power and the Yankees maybe retooling. So I think we're pumping the brakes on 5 World Series. Give me 2.
Mark, I want to get your thoughts on your hometown team, because I look at the National League right now. I think it's a 3-horse race. I know the Diamondbacks surprised everybody, made it to the World Series this past year. It certainly could happen again where, like, maybe the Reds or the Cubs or one of these teams that we don't see coming, maybe they go on a magical ride and make the World Series. I really think it's either going to be the Dodgers, the Braves, or the Phillies. I think it's going to be one of those teams. As a Philadelphia fan, like, what can you tell us is Philadelphia confident like in the Phillies this year? Do you guys feel like you have the Braves number and the Dodgers always choke? Or do you feel like with the additions that the Dodgers have made, the Braves just being such a good team that they're finally due to get over the hump? Like, where are you on the Phillies heading into this season?
We're excited. Obviously, the season ended. Very disappointing. We thought we were going to be able to get by Arizona, in the playoffs. That didn't happen. But what they did this postseason, almost the opposite of what we saw at the Dodgers, right? Dodgers go out, make all the headlines, make the big moves. The Phillies really kind of kept things in-house, took care of the people they had to. Nola, took care of him. So I think that I like what the Phillies done. I think they're going to be right there. The Braves, obviously the favorite for a reason to come out of the NL, but when you look at the Phillies lineup, you get another year of Bryce Harper. You got a Trey Turner in a full season now. He went through, his ups and downs last year, terrible start, was able to turn things around. Right now he's past that. So I think the lineup's going to be even more dynamic. You have Zach Wheeler. You can always count on him. So I like the pitching staff. I like where the Phillies are. I think it's going to come down to, again, them and the Braves, and do the Dodgers, are they able to kind of hold up and get the job done with all this talent that they amassed? Are they going to be able to fit the pieces? Is the team going to be able to stay healthy, right? It's a lot of big names, but not a lot of chemistry and continuity, and we saw them fall short last year.
Jake is completely out on the Yankees this year. But Jake, I want to know, in your opinion, is it a worse bet for people to take the Yankees at plus 145 or the Red Sox at 13-1 to win the AL East?
I would love to say the Yankees, but if you're betting the Red Sox, I'll book you, pal. Hit my Venmo, hit my DMs, because I would love to say the Yankees. Listen, lesser men would get posted on the BetQL account on the reels. We're saying that the Yankees stink, and then would be in the comments with people saying, "Oh, you must be a Red Sox fan or a Mets fan, or you don't know ball." Listen, lesser men would back down, but let me tell you all something. I know ball, all right? And I know that usually is not something that somebody who knows ball needs to say. But I got people saying, "Oh, you're a Mets or Red Sox fan." I'm very clearly from Chicago. Do any amount of research. I make it very clear where I'm from on all my socials. Listen, I get it. Everybody wants to believe in the big bad Yankees and their star power, and that's great. And I can't believe I have to do this whole rant again. Open your eyes, especially the rotation. Garrett Cole's awesome. He's a beast. Great. Look how much that got you at the height of his powers last year. Are you really counting on Carlos Rodon to help you that much? He was hurt and also bad all of last year. Marcus Stroman was great for half a season, and then guess what? He did the same thing Marcus Stroman does every single year. He falls apart, the luck runs out, and the ground ball rates and the hard hit rates come back to bite him. Happens every single year, and also he always has some weird injury that he misses like 3 to 4 or 5 starts. That rotation for the Yankees isn't great. Also, Aaron Judge has put together one healthy season in his career. He won MVP. That's great. Are you really counting on that, though? And all the people telling me, "Oh, well, whenever one of those guys goes down, Jason Dominguez will be there." Jason Dominguez's elbow exploded. You're not seeing him this year. Anyway, the Yankees did a good job. They added Alex Verdugo, they added Trent Grisham, and that's going to help when those guys go down. I just don't see any value in this team because they're going to be such a roller coaster of a team that they shouldn't be the AL East favorite. I get why they are because of Soto and Judge and the potential, but I don't see it. I already placed a bet on the Yankees to miss the playoffs at 3-1 because that's an insane price. It should be way closer to 2 or plus 150. 3-1 is a crazy price for the Yankees. I think this is the Orioles division. They got obviously better with Corbin Burns. Kyle Bradish and Grayson Rodriguez were two of the best pitchers in baseball down the stretch as it was. Now they had Burns. All those young guys are another year older. The bullpen might be a little dicey with Craig Kimbrell, but I think that the Orioles have the star power. And like Mark said, they like playing together enough. It seems like they're having a ton of fun that I think that the power of friendship and the raw talent is going to get them there at the end of the day.
Mike Trout at 22-1, just seeing that name with that price next to it, I feel like I just got to bet it just because it's Trout. And if he stays healthy, maybe he could be in the conversation. It's tough not to like Seager, though. at 10-1. Like, that dude just rakes, man. And they're going to have so much protection around him in that lineup. He plays in such a good hitter's ballpark. Seager would probably be my play at 10-1 if I had to make one. Jake, anything you like for AL MVP? I know there's a long shot bet for the Cy Young award too that you like.
Yeah, AL MVP really quick. It's hard to pick somebody out that outside of the top. I mean, Julio, I think he's going to bounce back from his kind of down season last year. But somebody I mentioned earlier, I think Bobby Witt Jr. is going to be in this mix. He was 7th last year, put together a 30-30 season. He's going to get another year better. And he started really slow last year. In like April and May, he was a 0 at the plate. He was nada. So I think if he can just hit the ground running, he's going to be able to be in this race. He's going to rack up a bunch of stats. And if the Orioles surprise, he's going to be the face of that. And that's going to get him some brownie points as well. As far as the AL Cy Young goes, I love finding these guys at 100, 150, 201. I did it twice last year with Jeffrey Springs and Drew Rasmussen. RIP, because as I said, their elbows exploded. But there's another 200-1 I like. It's in Seattle, which is a big park. It's Bryce Miller. And he's a guy who, he was a rookie last year. He came up, he hit the ground running like that. Like his first 10 starts were unbelievable. He was getting everybody out. He was in the AL Rookie of the Year race because nobody had really grasped it by then. But he was in that race and he was getting some serious consideration. Then he was a pitcher and didn't win. And then Gunnar Henderson won. Shout out to me. No big deal. But anyway, Bryce Miller is somebody who has already had major league success. He's in a good ballpark for conducive to pitching conditions. He's going to be on a team that we think is going to be halfway decent at least. And he's already still tweaking his game. He tweeted that he's adding a split finger fastball as well. His release points are something that he has to work on a little bit, but he went to Driveline Baseball over the offseason, said that's something he's working on. And the numbers, the raw numbers themselves, he's got plus location. He's got plus stuff across his fastball and his breaking stuff and his curveball. I think that when you add that all together, it adds up to a really compelling, or what could be a really compelling case for Cy Young. And at 200-1, he could get 2-3 starts in here, and that's cut in half. So this is a numbers play for me. This is a potential play for me. And what's really big for me here is he's had that prior success in the major leagues. That's huge. You're not counting on somebody for a bounce back. You're not counting on a young guy to take that leap. We've seen it. He's had the flashes of brilliance already. We've seen him have these dominant type performances where it makes you think, okay, he could have something like that over a full season, especially now with a full season under his belt and now knowing how to pitch to hitters. I think he's got a ton of potential, and I think the number's wrong.